Hi all, and Happy New Year. New Year's now upon us, and a new beginning on which we the people have to create going forward. And that is going to require a lot better thinking, a lot better acting the right way, and a lot more compassion, caring, sharing and community spirit. And this show will continue to provide balance and being in sanity as opposed to insanity into what is increasingly becoming a chaotic world and alternative community, a case of keeping things real or as close to real as possible. Now, the subjects discussed in the many fields this show covers often have elements of things beyond most people's comprehension, like holographic universes, moons that are craft, different suns, etc., and the emergence of knowledge of AI, which is largely bullshit as presented currently. Constructs, factions, ETs, whether from space above or space below. Synths, clones, financial systems. We have asked the hard questions and delivered new ideas, new theories, and have added supporting facts that have all got you thinking for yourselves and not just swallowing the information. And this will be the key going forward. All of you now have a better understanding of how things work, how they don't, what exists and what doesn't, what is real and what is illusion, what is truth and what are lies or deceptions. This show will continue to attempt to provide clarity to the many fields of distorted information in a way that all of you can grasp. My shows will always endeavour to look at things from an overview point of view. I'm not interested in political parties or their politicians, so don't look for me to support your view on any party or politician, as until I see the full evidence of any one of them doing anything for and by the people, those people are and will be a target in this show. Now, 2018 will bring many things out into the light, but importantly, I ask all to be on guard or wary of the wolf in the sheep's clothing, as eventually that will unfold and unveil this year. This show will continue to expand your thinking this year and will remain free. So no subscriptions for this show. No $10 a month to listen to Waldorf and Stadler announced this week, which left me shaking my head. Well, you got to have a laugh, don't you? Too much of this stuff is sadly depressing, serious, and at times downright evil. And yes, I have my sometimes humorous and sometimes cryptic terminologies. So someone new to the show may struggle with some of them, but please be free to ask one of the members or myself in what this or that means. No one can expect or should vilify themselves for not knowing stuff. We are all on a learning path. Remember that. Just because you're awake doesn't mean you can't be fooled. We all have. The key is how long you hold on to the lie to present yourself being exposed as being foolish. This applies to all avenues of the alternative media. For those of you that are new to this show, there is a number of key shows that we have done that gives you a chance to catch up to the regular listeners and must listen to podcasts on the thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org site, if played in order, will cover the gist of what has gone on, the now and also the potential future. And there's about 9 key shows on that site that covers many aspects of what we are dealing with. Many of you have no idea how far the rabbit hole goes, as that level of knowledge has largely been denied to us all. But those shows will cover many aspects of it, plus the regular updates in what is classed as the normal shows every Thursday. But is there really anything that resembles normal in our shows? Probably not. Our show, in essence, has saved a lot of people wasted energy over the 19 months it's been operating, preventing many from going down side streets via disinformation and outright deception. That will continue this year, but I'm hoping our focus will be less on that this year than last year anyway. I expect their false narratives will be shredded over the coming year, but I also hope, and in many ways expect, that we are reporting on the more of the positive signs throughout the world, as the unveiling will envelop the whole planet. It will be fantastic for me, and for you no doubt, if our sole focus is on improving and rebuilding, not only in America but globally. Opportunities will arise this coming year. Be ready to embrace them when they unveil. There are signs of progress in many areas. Bankers exposed, then jumping or fired. CEOs exposed, fired or running. Politicians exposed, fired and running. And what was secretive realms and knowledge all now being spat out into the world, that largely renders the pants of the cabal a little bit messy. And I expect their pants may require extra diapers this year. Huggies will be the growth sale item for them, kind of fitting as their childlike behaviours as worsened as the pushing them reaches epic proportions. Petulance and threats has increased towards the end of last year. Perhaps it's time we stick their diaper pants. Hi all, and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show on what is the first show of the year, 2018, the year of the unveiling. And hopefully we'll have a far more interesting and positive year. Last year was the unravelling of not only a whole heap of so-called conspiracies, but an unravelling of the system, be it financial, government, military in some aspects, agencies in other, but also an unravelling of the people, which has not been pleasant to watch. I expect that will get worse this year before it gets better. There is kind of an ongoing frequency that's forcing people to look at the truth, not only of what's going on in the alternative media, but within themselves. And quite frankly, it's not too pleasant. If we look at ourselves, are we happy with it? That's subjective to the listener. But in many cases, it's not, is it? Because we've lived a life of illusion, the facade, the masks of illusion. And all those are coming down slowly but surely. The ones that have done the inner work ahead of time are now the ones who are calm, balanced and in a better state. That's why we ask people to do it 2 years ahead of when it got real shitty, so to speak. And it's going to get a lot more chaotic. You know, change never comes easily. It just doesn't. There's a lot of things that they don't want outed. There's a lot of things that we want outed. And the more that comes out, the more chaotic life will get. But it has to happen. We can't carry on living in this life in the dark. It's essentially what we all are. We're living life in the dark. And hopefully we'll have a better year. I can't promise anything. There's certain things that are ongoing. And yet we all still wait for something to take place publicly. Maybe I'll have some tips on that in the second hour. Right, let's get into the show. All the links that I'm not going to read it out tonight because I need to catch up a bit with that opening portion of the show. All the links for the show and the email and the website and the MeWe are all on the top of the pinned post on both sites, be it MeWe or the Facebook. So if you need to email, it's all there. Right, let's get into some news. Trump said something on a tweet which was rather interesting, and yet there's many around the world who still want to push the narrative. And it said, in the East it could be the coldest New Year's Eve on record. That's the East Coast of America. Perhaps we could all use a little bit of that good old global warming that our country, but not other countries, was going to pay trillions of dollars to protect against. Time to bundle up. Exactly. Global warming goes up and down like a wave. It's a frequency, same as everything else. Is it caused by humans? No. You know, if global warming was such an issue, why are they spraying a veil across the skies in many states? Because that traps the heat, which then increases warming, does it not? So until they sort that nonsense out, global warming being part of a human problem is a myth. I don't recall seeing many humans on Mars, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn. Was they're all warming up as well? Perhaps it's just a flux that happens regularly. Of course, they tell you that they're science figures that all those planets are warming up, but they're also telling you that the sun is cooler than ever. Oops. There's no sunspots, no increased activities. So something's not right, is it? Anyway, the military. More than 1 million members of the military will start 2018 needing to make an important financial decision as the government rolls out the biggest change to military retirement since World War II. Members of the US Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force and Coast Guard with fewer than 12 years of service will have to choose whether to stay on an all or nothing path towards a traditional pension after 20 years of service, or to opt for a new blended retirement system that Congress approved as part of the 2016 National Defence Authorization Act. So in other words, they're forcing the soldiers or soldiers into longer service. The new system combines a 401k style plan with a continuation bonus after 12 years of service and a traditional pension, albeit less generous than before. So the pension is going down, and that takes place after you've been in service 20 years. The upshot: those who don't reach the 20-year milestone require to qualify for a pension, and this amounts to more than 80% of those who serve will no longer leave with nothing saved for retirement. So that's our positive, at least. Under the new plan, those who do stay for 20 or more years will see a 20% cut in their pension payouts. That doesn't make sense. On one part it's going up, and the other, typical governments, and they give in with one hand and take with the other. Though the difference should be offset in part by the contributions to the plan 401k style component. The changes, which amount to a test case for entitlement reform in the civilian world, are expected to save taxpayers billions and also boost recruitment efforts for millennials. A lot of the millennials are not interested in going into the military. They tend to change jobs more often, but are reluctant about putting off saving for retirement also. The winners are anybody who leaves the service short of 20 years. Previously, in the old system, the military had a very generous retirement system, but if you left short of 20 years, which about 83% of those serving in the military did, you left the military with nothing for your retirement savings. So military retirement is now going to be modernised, so that starting immediately after you join, the military is going to contribute an automatic 1% of your salary and will match up to another 4% for a total of 5% of your salary, and then you vest after 2 years and take that with you. So that's some benefits in there, and some bits taken away, which is always the way with government. It's never a full-on gain, but at least it's some improvement. There's been a lot of talk about a guy by the name of Steele, Christopher Steele. It's known as the Steele dossier. It's been going around alternative media. And there's a parallel but lesser publicised narrative running alongside the dominant media-flavoured Trump-Russia collusion story. And it centres not on Trump and his alleged collusion with Moscow, but on Fusion GPS, the shady firm behind the infamous Steele dossier. And stories about the 35-page intelligence report written by former MI6 spy Christopher Steele very often do not make so much as a passing mention of Fusion GPS or its co-founder, former journalist Glenn Simpson. Now, both of these two are crucial players in what could potentially be a scandal of massive proportions, and a recent investigation by Online Magazine, using public sources to trace the evolution of the dossier, has pieced together information that suggests central elements of the Russiagate story emerged not from the British ex-spy Christopher Steele, but from a series of stories co-written by the former journalist Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby. Do a search on them too. Both of which were published in the Wall Street Journal before Fusion GPS ever existed. So this is part of the faction games, pure and simple. And MI6 and MI5 are both in with the Rothschilds, and are not overly keen on Trump either, because Trump's a different faction. Attorney General Jeff Sessions on Thursday rescinded an Obama-era policy that paved the way for the states to legalise marijuana. Oops, this is going to upset a number of people. Instead, Sessions will allow federal prosecutors in states where pot is legal to decide how to enforce the new federal ban on marijuana sale or possession. Sessions made the announcement just days after the recreational marijuana market opened in California. Many states, as many of you know, have legalized some form of medical marijuana and a handful have legalized recreational use of the drug. Now, under former President Barack Obama, the Department of Justice indicated to states in 2013 that while marijuana remained illegal under US law, federal law enforcement officials would not interfere in states that choose to legalize cannabis as long as they agreed to certain restrictions, such as barring minors from being able to buy it and prohibiting transport of the drug into states where it isn't legal. That memo is what Sessions rescinded on Thursday today. So, yeah, pot is going to get criminalised again. That might turn a few people off Mr. Trump and his government. Anti-government demonstrations that began in Iran on Thursday have now spread to several major cities, and large numbers reportedly turn out in Rasht in the north and Kermanshah in the west, with smaller protests in Isfahan, Hamadan and elsewhere. The protests began after rising prices, a bit like more austerity, isn't it? But have spiralled into a general outcry against the clerical rule and also government policies. A small number of people have been arrested in Tehran, and they were among a group of 50 people who gathered in the city square. And Tehran Deputy Governor General for Security Affairs told the news agency that it was only a small number, which has obviously, since I did this report, has escalated. Now, this is from what I gather, and I'm still waiting for a confirm on it. This smacks of a certain agency in Virginia playing games again, all at the behest of a neighbouring country. It's starting, in my eyes anyway, to become kind of obvious. They're trying to tip out the whole of the Middle East. The point is, how far does it go before people see it? And they've been through Iraq, been through Libya, Lebanon, Syria, southern Turkey. You go and check the map. There's a clear, defined path. I remember when I outed that plan about the caliphate, everyone thought I was nuts. They're going to get rid of the Palestinians. They'll get rid of the Israeli people also. In fact, this next item, you may start to see signs of where I'm going with it. But there was Jewish people out in Jerusalem at the weekend, all praying for rain. Did you know they've had a 4-year drought? It's now running into year 5. Their food supply is dwindling. Perhaps they shouldn't have set fire to all the olive groves in across the wool. What happens if that drought goes on another few years and you see people moving out? Do I hear California? This is something I keep mentioning for a reason, for people to look into themselves. Look at the number of regions around the world where people are being forced out. Can't happen here. Well, we're America, except it already has. Puerto Rico. New Orleans, California. Been ongoing a long time. And eventually the people are going to have to, and the people in the alternative media really need to start focusing on it before it becomes a runaway train. So if you keep coming for the Palestinians, it's a bit like that piece I did, Tomorrow Belongs to Me. Well, it doesn't matter, I'm not a Palestinian, or I'm not a Syrian, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. And eventually they'll come for the Jews. And there'll be no one left. That statement about Jerusalem being the capital of Israel will have larger ramifications this year. Mark my words. So the Jewish people are now into a 5th year of weather wars, creating deliberately, in my opinion, creating droughts, which will force some to leave. The ones that don't, if time goes on too long, will be removed also. These people don't care. You just pawns the Jewish people. I know there's a lot of anti-Jewish sentiment, but the Jewish people have been used as pawns as well. Told they were the chosen ones, they're above everybody else, who are just goyim, who are just there to be their slaves. It's a lie. And it creates that division, because that's the division that they wanted for their prophecies, which is plans. People of Israel need to wake up quickly and deal with the problems, because it won't get better, it will only get worse. And you think Iran's the problem. So was Iraq, and nothing changed. So was Syria, and nothing changed. So was Lebanon, and nothing changed, did it? Just rolls on. Things that make you go, there's a few of them here. An Egyptian court sentenced ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi to 3 years in prison, along with 19 other defendants on Saturday morning for what was described as insulting the judiciary. For those of you who don't know, Morsi was the former president of Egypt. And the other defendants include former members of parliament, activists and 3 journalists. He'd already been sentenced to a total of 45 years in prison in 2 other trials after the military ousted him in 2013. Wow. That 4 years ago? Seemed like a loop to me. And here we go again. King Abdullah II of Jordan. That country needs to watch itself this year. Again, take note of that. Has arrested his own brothers and cousin for suspected covert cooperation with Saudi Arabia. And Jordan, which is usually seen as being a neutral state in the Middle East, is reported to have detained the 3 men at their homes after individuals allegedly spoke to Saudi and Emirati leaders. That's quite a number of high-level people all around the world suddenly being ousted. And yet we still wait in America. Lord Adonis, oh really, has been forced to resign as an independent advisor after the government tried to silence him. This is a lord in the UK. And the former Labour minister quit his role as chairman of the government's Infrastructure Commission with an attack on Theresa May's government. He said it had become a hypersensitive to any criticism, as Brexit was infecting the whole conduct of government, including the infrastructure. So the war over Brexit continues. Where are we next? President Trump has signed another executive order to collapse his Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. The Trump administration has faced opposition or limited cooperation from a number of states when the Commission controversially requested voter information, such as social security numbers and also addresses. In a statement, the White House said, despite substantial evidence of voter fraud, many states have refused to provide the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity with basic information relevant to its inquiry. So you just shut it down? Really? I mean, do they not send people in to arrest these people? If the president has made set up an advisory commission and they're not prepared to comply, then those people should be fired straight away. Not, oh well, nobody sent information in, so I'm cancelling it. It's not good, that. I'm sorry, it's just not good. And rather than engage in endless legal battles, according to the government, at taxpayers' expense, that's all I have to worry about, taxpayers' expense. Yeah. Mr. Trump said, today I signed an executive order to dissolve the commission. So if fraud is found inside the Federal Reserve and they won't provide the information, you just cancel the hearing, cancel the audit? Is this the path we're going? It's not draining the swamp, is it? So he dissolved the commission and have asked the Department of Homeland Security to review these issues and determine next courses of action. That's just going to roll on until the next election. Only Arkansas, Colorado, Florida, Ohio and Washington State has complied with all of the Commission's requests. California, Kentucky, Maine, Minnesota, New Mexico and South Carolina had all signalled their unwillingness to cooperate. EPIC, the Electronic Privacy Information Centre, has declared victory in the Commission's demise. The non-profit organisation, which was the first to sue the Trump administration over the issue, noted that he has a pending Freedom of Information Act request to the Department of Homeland Security for records concerning the federal government's collection of personal data on voters. That should be interesting. But with the panel closed down, perhaps that won't be forthcoming. Here's something else. Another one who's facing the wrath of being held accountable for corruption again, I think. Yeah. South Africa's top court on Friday ruled that the parliament failed to hold embattled President Jacob Zuma accountable for using state funds to upgrade his private home. Hello, Mr. Blair, 6 homes. And in a move that could trigger impeachment proceedings. The opposition had gone to court arguing that the Speaker of the Parliament had failed to institute appropriate processes to hold Mr. Zuma accountable for his failure to abide by the anti-corruption watchdog recommendations as far back as 2014. Mr. Zuma had refurbished his rural home in the eastern KwaZulu province using $15 million of taxpayers' money. Unbelievable. They got away with it for that long. Here's another one. Haitian. Haiti. Authorities said on Tuesday a former Prime Minister and top official have been banned from leaving the country as prosecutors lead a corruption probe in which 12 people, including government officials, have been arrested. Former Prime Minister Jean-Max Bellarive, who served from 2009 through 2011, and former Justice Minister Camille Edward Jr., who served in 2016, cannot travel abroad while an investigation proceeds into corruption-related charges. Bellarive, who was Premier during a catastrophic earthquake, was ordered to remain within Haiti by judges who was investigating the 2009 disappearance of a public procurement official and the 2012 death of a construction manager allegedly connected to the case. We all know who's involved with that, don't we? Hello, Anne. Oh. Mr. Bellarive denied any connection to either incident or to other acts of corruption. They all say that. There's been a plan put forward in Mexico to fix Mexico's justice system, and the plan put forward was done by the American government, and the result, chaos. How can you get a country whose justice system is about just us and not just it, give advice to another country how to run theirs? So Mexico's justice system is now worse and in total chaos. No change there. Another country where corruption has now reared its head and more pushes going on. At least 600 people have been arrested since protests began last week against authorities in Iraqi Kurdistan over corruption and the fallout from a failed independence push. They said hundreds of them are still being held over the unrest, which saw protesters torch offices of political parties in the autonomous Kurdish region in northern Iraq. 5 demonstrators were shot dead and dozens wounded by security forces in the town of Rania. And protests have ebbed in recent days in the face of tight security. So it's pretty much, I think we've covered about 12 countries already in this news, and all of them are pulling people in for corruption or demanding a government quit things. Hope that continues and spreads. I think this is the final news item. And hardly a surprise. But this is Mr. Netanyahu again, nutty asshole. The Israeli government has issued a notice for thousands of African migrants to leave the country or face imprisonment. The migrants will be given up to $3,500 for leaving within the next 90 days. Another empty out. You decide. they will be given the option of going to their home country or third countries. If they do not leave, the Israeli authorities have threatened they will start jailing them from April. The Israeli government says their return will be humane and voluntary. Doesn't sound... The Israeli government must operate the IRS. They tell you that the income tax on Americans is voluntary, but if you don't pay it, we arrest you. And the Israeli government are telling people they have to leave by April, or they're going to jail them, and then they tell you that it's voluntary. Please make your mind up. The order exempts children, elderly people. Interesting. Exempts children. And victims of slavery and human trafficking. A spokesman for the Israel's Population and Immigration Authority told the BBC there were currently 38,000 infiltrators, as they call them, in Israel, of whom just 1,420 were being held in detention facilities. The BBC, which is where I got this article, even put a disclaimer on and described the term they have used and why they have used it. The BBC uses the term migrant to refer to all people on the move who have yet to complete the legal process of claiming asylum. Really? So they haven't declared themselves part of the lunatic asylum. I always wonder why they use that name. They're telling you, no matter which country you go to, they're all in a lunatic asylum. One day, people around the world will realise the stupidity and complete insanity of calling anyone a migrant or illegal alien. How can you be an illegal alien on your own planet? It just it boggles my mind, the terminology they have for the people seeking asylum and migrant, alien, legal or not. No, these are people. It's time everyone realised that. Right, let's have what can we do? Let's go with this one. Hi all, and welcome back to the second hour. Little bits of intel, some op-ed pieces. What I will tell you is the intel has gone dark, and there's a lot of fun and games going on, some of it good and chunks of it bad. Some people are acting like they're good and they're not, and you shouldn't need me to tell you, because I've gave hints along the way. It's become far too obvious now that certain things are not being done for the benefit of we the people, only for the faction games. And so I'm going to do intel with some op-ed pieces, and you'll get the gist of it. Now, the first, I did a post the other day, wonder how many politicians never returned to their desks. And you will see an increase in this in the next few months. Those that don't want to play the game will be removed. Some of them good for our benefit, and some of them won't be. The second one, I wonder whether Julian Assange, who's rumoured to be about to be pardoned, comes with controlling conditions. That is a major concern of mine and others, that Assange will get a pardon as long as he doesn't out X, Y and Z. Time will tell on that. Ankle bracelets have increased. You've seen certain evidence of it around the internet. Now, one thing that hasn't been reported is a number of prominent people. I will not give the names currently, but all I will say is that prominent people have had their passports removed permanently. They will not be allowed to flee. For those of you who follow the site RSOE, which covers incidents around the world, tells you whether an earthquake is HARP or not. If the depth is 10 kilometers, it's HARP. Are seeing an increase, and it's also in the mainstream media, of planes going down. Lots of them. This is part, again, of the factions war. I'll have more on two of them shortly. The biggest question as we go into 2018 is, I wonder why so many people, houses, businesses and connections to the Clintons burn or expire. But the biggest question is, why is that entity still roaming around this planet free? It's 12 months, Mr. Trump and team. 12 months. Meanwhile, over the last 12 months, there must have been at least 10 to 20 people who have died with connections to them. And it just rolls on. All talk about it. You know, Clinton's done this, and Clinton's this email, and Clinton's that uranium deal, and Benghazi, etc., etc., etc. But where is the evidence, and why hasn't it been arrested? Stop spinning it out. Next part of the intel is kind of a repeat narrative. But yet again, last Friday they tried the RV again, and yet again it failed. It's beyond a joke now. It really is beyond a joke. And from what I gather, the RV group has gone into meltdown, and they're out turning on each other. Well, that's what happens when you've been fooled for 25 years. You should have listened. But the RV not taking place is one thing. What they're finding now, again, something we told them on this show, again they didn't listen, is they had to reintroduce an old money system platform, because all the other attempts of implementing new ones wouldn't work. One day they'll find out none of them will. So they implemented the new platform, and guess what? That doesn't work either. Oops. And like I said, one day they will realise none of their old ways, programs, plans work anymore. They just don't. And their time has come, and their time has also gone. And it's about time we had real change in our midst, not something to look forward to. It should have already started. It doesn't take 12 months to arrest Clinton, Bush's, Rothschilds, et al. Just doesn't. And it's going to be up to us to keep the pressure on. Not just expecting one man or one government team to do it all. Because I'll tell you now, they're not. We will have to keep pushing. And it's time we embraced it. And it's also time some of the Cabal members, they know, you now know your money system doesn't work, your RV's not going to work. If you're part of the Illuminati, you're going to get wiped out. And if you don't fit into their plans and are part of an opposition faction, you are either going to be arrested for fraud and corruption and disappeared, or just taken out. You all thought you had the special ticket. You all thought wrong. So this leads me into an op-ed piece, because the name of the and this is part of the problem here in America and around the world for that matter, but more prevalent here. The name of the old money system platform is called Hercules, another Roman god, in case you needed any further confirmation. Now, Hercules was the son of Drake. Yes, that Drake. Well, according to Drake anyway, he says he's Zeus. So, Hercules is the son of Drake. Okay. Now, Hercules in the past, one of his tasks was saving Rome. Go figure. Now, this machine in his name will not save Rome, London, Rothschilds, or the District of Columbia. Oops. Now, Columbia is a new Latin toponym which has been in use since the 1730s. You know what Columbia means? The 13 colonies. District of Columbia is the 13 colonies. Still think you got independence? Now, the name Columbia originated from the Italian explorer who was funded by the Vatican, Christopher Columbus, and from the ending AI, or pardon the pun, IA, which is common in Latin names of countries, which is parallel in Britannia, Gallia, and a number of others, Romania, to name but a few. In other words, Romanizing or Anglicizing America under Rome and London rule. That's what Columbia stands for. And this is why so many names in America have names like with new in front of it. New York, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New England. Now, what a lot of people won't know is New York is not the original name. It was originally named New Amsterdam due to the Dutch control system that ran alongside the British one under the corporation known as the Tea Company. Dutch East Indies Tea Company and British East Indies Tea Company, they went goose-stepping around the world long before the Nazis, all at the behest of Rome. Lady Liberty is the statue of Columbia, the female archangel goddess which symbolises this fact. The torch, for those of you who don't know, is an Illuminati symbol representing the flame of illumination. It can be seen in a number of places and ideas, whereas the flame within the Vesica Pisces of Myriad represents the willpower of the individual emanating outward. The flame of the Illuminati is a method of controlling information. The torchbearer that supposedly lights the way for others in the darkness. It's not what happened though, is it? However, the truth is that the flame of the Illuminati represents the fire by which things are sacrificed to their gods. And this is why I did this piece. The torchbearer is not lighting the way, but carrying the torch that will set fire to the sacrificial altar. Of course, Lady Liberty stands on an altar. The sacrificial altar was America and its people. This is the symbology behind it all. Look at all the public buildings. It's not just Washington. It's all over America. With Athena on, Zeus, Aphrodite, Columbia, Persephone, Prometheus, Isis, Osiris and Horus. All depicting their obsession with these ancient gods. The lighting of the torch for the Olympic Games, which just happens to happen every 4 years, like a loop. Of course, you've got the 5 loops of the 5 Olympic rings. Denoting the 5 factions, denoting the 5 representatives of the Anunnaki. Could go on. Of course, the Olympic Games are based currently on the Titans and their successors, the Olympians. Yet again, more Greco-Roman gods. Same meaning. All honour their gods. But the question is, that needs to be absorbed by the listeners and the agencies and the military and the governments all over the world. The question is, what have these gods done for us? I'll answer you. Jack shit. We sacrificed human lives for hundreds, if not thousands of years to play these god games. Honoured them, worshipped them, idolised them. Brought them back, changed their names. Ra, Helios, Marduk. All the same entity. Satan, Saturn, Set-An. Again, all the same being, all the same group. All they've brought to us is nothing beneficial and a whole heap of death, destruction and sacrifices to gain what in return? What have we gained? Nothing. A few gadgets, bit of technology, woo. which is largely used against us. I think it's time we started looking after humans that are alive and living, not dead. And look after them. And honour the people who actually do good on this planet. Sadly, that's too few. Again, all these gods, like religion, is another way of loosening your energy and giving your power away. Religion was created by them as the vehicle driver. But of course, to some people, Jesus is coming to save them. Like the arrest of Clinton, we're still waiting. That clock's been ticking for 2,000 years. Or has it? Lots of chatter on the internet. I'm going to say it now. Most of it is utter bullshittery. Sorry. Just is. This has been arrested. That's been arrested. Some have been taken via planes with transponders turned off to Gitmo. Yet again, it's more mass arrest, hopium, profit. And the truth of the matter is the planes with the transponders off were all Cabal, and they were meeting, no doubt planning their next likely to fail strategy, in my opinion. But that's what was going on in Gitmo. You know, I don't wish to dampen people's hopes or possibilities of stuff happening. Stuff is happening, and the evidence of which is available for those who look. Even in the news items, a number of high-profile people. It's not just this show. It's been a plethora of shows over the last 3 months where we've highlighted 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 per show who have been dragged out and taken down. But all of us are looking for something real and tangible to take place in this country, because there's more corruption, fraud and shenanigans going on in this country than many other countries combined. We were promised swamp draining. The plug hasn't come out yet. Can't drain the swamp unless you pull the plug. Well, you know, I don't wish to dampen people's hopes. We're all tired of it. But I'm not going to allow our listeners to get sucked into more hopium of mass arrests, financial packages, etc., which has been ongoing on the internet, for those not aware, since 2002, all promoted by Wilcock and his entourage. Yes, for those that don't know, Wilcock, under the pseudonym of Art Aqua, was talking about mass arrests back in 2002. It's now 2018. 16 years is like 4 loops. And to me, it's time the community, the alternative media community, let Wilcock and his entourage. We no longer tolerate him and his group's delaying tactics of non-disclosure in the hope something is delivered. The reality is Wilcock and Good et al., as people will find out, some of you already have, are the antithesis of disclosure. They're not producing nothing, and all they're doing is to get people to back down and just sit back and wait for disclosure and everything will be fine. It won't. Him and his entourage are paid to stall and delay it. They've been doing it since 2002. So whilst the majority of the community sits back and waits for David and Corey to deliver disclosure and collecting your money in the process, the cabal are sitting back laughing in our faces, watching us fall for the same thing over and over and over again. For those of you new to the show, the cabal want disclosure done over 50 years. And by that time, all those involved in the shenanigans will be dead. And so no justice will be served on them. They were the conditions in one of the high-level meetings. They got told to go and do one. But then they've got puppets in the alternative media propagating it. Now, one of the things that this show's been accused of is causing division in the community. I can see where that comes up, and I understand it to a point, but it doesn't cause or create the division. What we have division because that is what they wanted. The Blue Chicken program is part of that. And my challenge to the people that doubt what's been stated in this show about any individual or group is ask themselves what have Wilcock or Good or anybody else actually delivered. Intel? Nope. Disclosure of anything new? Certainly not. The two clowns were discussing Operation Northwoods like it was something new in the last sidetracking interview. Anyone that's been awake for a while knew about Operation Northwoods in the 1990s. And those clowns are talking about it like it's just happened. SS small p. Many of you thought that Corey was the SS small p spokesperson. The main Earth contact, as he said. If that's the case, why is he asking Julian Assange for information on the SSP? I'm hoping this year sees the end of those two clowns. I'd rather not talk about them, but they are the main cause of the alternative media or alternative community being divided. Those two clowns and the three supporting stooges. I don't need to name them, you know who they are. Plus Robert David Steele. If we can get those removed, we can move forward with some real knowledge, intel, and also a purpose of intent to start the process of restoring this planet and its people. So, I'm hoping that really unveils this year and they go down. The other item I wanted to mention is the airport systems going down. This is because certain flights had certain people who needed to be removed, including their passports. two of the planes that went down, Bruce Steinberg, nice name, and his family, was a Bridgewater Associative executive. Now, that was the family that was killed in Costa Rica. All those family. James Comey also worked for Bridgewater, by the way, before joining the FBI under Obama. Make of that what you will. And the Australian crash of a seaplane contained a CEO of the Compass Group, which has possible connections to Hitler. Whilst we're talking about plane incidents, isn't it interesting and funny for that matter, the plane and helicopter crash over Jacob Rothschild's estate has gone rather quiet. Remember, one news item reported it was Rothschild on the plane, and then silence. Pointers for the future is something that will make you ponder and also make you think, which we're fond of doing, and it leads into other avenues of research and a deeper understanding of yourself. It's not to be cryptic, it's not to be clever, it's to get you to look into deeper layers. But pointers for the future, I will term, watch this space and you will see. That's the line. Watch this space and you will see. But is it C-S-E-E or is it C-S-E-A? Why are the naval military in control of the ET narrative? So as we watch the space, you will see. Another thing that came up this week, I've been doing a bit of research. Another of the gods and goddesses. You wonder why the news people were called media. It's named after the god Medea, M-E-D-E-A. There's that. Changing it to I-A, Columbia. You know, Medea was a sorceress who enchanted people. That sound familiar? Exactly like the portal people who magic up scripts and enchant people with their bullshit. So they're playing the role of Medea, the goddess, the news Medea. How are we for time? Plenty of time. Right, okay. Couple of things I'm going to go deeper on now. I was thinking the other day, watching chaos after chaos after chaos, and I get emails and I see posts of people struggling, poor behaviour, not looking after people, not looking after animals, not looking after the land, and certainly not looking after the planet. And it made me ponder, and perhaps again this is something you can all think of, but what if this planet, the planet itself, causes evil? Big statement. Well, it got me thinking, because it's gone on for so long here. There's been a lot of interference of the gods, as I covered earlier. But it's not just the Draco that have meddled here. The mantids, the greys, and humans who have all turned bad here. But the animals, birds, fish, mammals, insects are hardly all love and light to each other, are they? And something is seriously amiss with this planet. Now, whether it's got something to do with the splitting of the planet in the past, and also splitting of the planetary being due to the Tiamat incident, we can only hypothesize on that. But it seems that every species that comes here ends up going bad. If you look around, you can count on one hand in a week the number of nice people you've interacted with. But you need many hands and toes to count where you've seen poor behaviour. People shouting, cursing at each other, fighting, driving with undue care, you name it. Something's not right. So the thing that got me thinking is it something to do with the planet? And most will cry, no, it's honest, that's Mother Earth. And I understand that. But the question has to be asked is, why is almost every species that's come here in some way or other gone bad? The insects. There's some insects that, once they meet, they mate, they eat each other. I mean, what's the point of that? The fish all live off each other. Birds also. So it's not just humans, it's the humans, they eat all the meat and they should just eat the plants, forgetting that the plants are sentient also. One of the issues with the Draco is their stable diet was the dinosaur. Someone decided to throw a rock and ended that, so then they turned on us. It's something for all of you to think on, because we've kind of gone through the myriad of excuses and reasons, whatever. But we've never asked the question, perhaps there's something wrong with the planet. Could it be the fractal virus that Tanath spoke of in detail 5 years ago now? We've covered it briefly on our shows at various times. Could it be that? It just basically tips everything into dark behaviour. There was a post this week about mask. Well, it wasn't about masks of illusion, but it was about narcissism. And this is part of the masks of illusion, which I've decided to revisit tonight, because now a lot of you are noticing the dramatic changes in people's behaviour. How many people are completely losing it, displaying narcissistic behaviours and just flat out insanity. Now, for those of you, I've seen a couple of comments. I'm hoping this ends soon. I wouldn't count on it. I hate to say it, but I expect this will get worse throughout the year, because not everyone's dealt with all the layers. Far from it. But you have to remember, it's the deeper layers that are the ones that cause the most outward projection. You scratch the surface of the inner trauma, whatever that may be, and yes, it may get people to lose it, but as that layer is cleared, there's another layer and another layer, and it's getting to the deeper layers which will cause most of the upset, angst, bitterness, nastiness and projection when it comes out. And we're going to see an increase in narcissistic behaviour, because that's like a firewall. You know, it's not fun to watch. It really isn't. You know, and I kind of give our listeners the heads up 2.5 years ago now that this is what would take place. And the problem being is it comes down to what is and how do we seek the truth. And I've said this before, truth can be subjective. What may be my truth may not be yours, and that's fine, as long as you don't get nasty. We can all have different opinions, but the biggest lies we tell are the ones to ourselves, and this is where the masks of illusion come out, where we display comparative behaviour, comparative mindsets over a whole range of things, some of which we don't even realise we're doing. My show's better than your show, my house is bigger than yours, and my garden's got more and better flowers, or whatever. It's endless. Better handbag, better shoes, you know, better jewellery, or my diamond ring's better than yours, or it's more expensive than yours, and it's just on and on and on, and we don't realise how far all of us went down that comparative mind. And for many of us, myself included, it was our undoing. Because to keep playing that game, you keep having to earn more and more money. And that's fine in a boom economy. It's not so good when it crashes, as I found out, although I did last until 2011 before it started becoming in the negative, so to speak. So I did better than most. But the big house that everyone in the UK, all the friends in the UK loved, was a millstone around my neck. And did we really need it? Not really. Just impressing people. But the cost of impressing people is increased lack of money and an increased expenditure, and when times struggle, increased credit card and loan debt. Is it worth it? Do people turn around and say, I'm better than you because I've got a smaller house? Or I'm better than you because I bought my clothes at the dollar store? No. But actually it's a better way of being than the opposite, isn't it? Downsizing, downgrading, getting out of the system affords us all freedom at the end of the day. You can still operate within freedom as long as you're in control of yourself and your own destiny and your own surroundings. even in this controlled world. But getting back to the masks of illusion, it will get worse. As, to be quite honest, I can't see how people who have lied to themselves for that long, racked with envy, comparative mindsets, bitterness, greed, shame, guilt, and insecurities will all suddenly be fine without some sort of major adjustment. You know, there's too many, even in the alternative media, who still look for saviour programs, saviour personalities, or quick fix for all in the shortest time possible via RVs and prosperity packages, Nasara, dinars, etc., etc. And now, Bitcoin. That's basically what it's worth. It's all me ass. And it's all got to be done in the shortest time possible with no change to their lives or lifestyles. Just fix it, but don't disrupt my life while you're doing it. Do you really think we're going to get change that way? Because that's the illusion. That is the illusion. We in the alternative media have waited for all kinds over the last, particularly 6 years anyway. Colonel Potters and Cobras, Wilcox, Drake and his 2 weeks, OPPT, Swiss Indo, all promising you change. Chinese elders, dragon groups. You know, the reality is, and our listeners know, who the dragon people are operating for. But there's a whole heap of people operating in the alternative media who have no idea who they're working for. None. And this is going to be a problem. So I'm sorry if that is not what you want to hear. I know there was a couple of comments, hope this ends soon, but I can't handle it. It's getting worse. It has to, because it ran so deep. This is the problem. The issues ran so deep. We got mired deeper and deeper into the illusionary nature of what's real in this world and what's not. What's truth and what's not. In essence, in some aspects, it would have been better we had a full reset. In some aspects. But how can we be expected to work through all these issues in one lifetime? With all the dark elements, most of which of the planet has no idea it exists to begin with. The odds stacked against. But even with those odds stacked against and our numbers few, we've still taken the fight to them and dropped them to the knees. The key is to finish them off. And the key is also, we don't wait for others to do it. We have to do it ourselves. If that means disrupting your life to achieve something better, then that's something that you may have to consider. We can't all sit at our home and on our computers hoping somebody else fixes it. Many of us can, but not all. But I hope our listeners at least will have learnt sufficient have done their inner work and dealt with the shadow sides to where they're in a good space. And I can see many who have and are will be needed for those who will completely lose it. But you may have to wait after the first wave, because they will attack you. Many of you have already experienced that. Attacks by family members, siblings, parents, partners, friends, work colleagues. The list goes on and on. You have to step back, let them project, don't engage. You'll set them back. They have to come to the same space, head and heart space that you have. They didn't help you, did they? Largely, many of us have done it on our own. Did they care what you were going through? Not particularly. We're not going to replicate their behaviour. But don't engage on the first projection. Step back. They will come back again. It will be softened and lessened, because at that point, after the first projection at you, if you engage, that's what they want. They want to argue and slander with you, because it negates them facing up to their own reality. Step back. I can't deal with this now. Come back to me when you're calmer. They will come back. They have to. One of the biggest problems, and this runs into the next piece, is very few of us trust ourselves. The trust of the self. Too many give power away. And we've covered that many times with religion, idolising certain politicians or actresses or actors, and etc., etc. Fake gods and all that nonsense. But many of us have got involved in this show and the alternative community because we want to find out the truth. But we have our own. Why is our own barrier set so high? You know, that's something that many of you have to look at and address. The trust of the self. I had, for many years of my life, a trust of myself issue. And you have to work through it. I didn't trust I could become a radio show host. I didn't think I had enough knowledge. Others will argue different. But that's the doubting of the self. I certainly didn't expect to be able to do shows for 3 hours each week. But then I find myself running out of time. It's not like previous shows where it's being repeated. Things are being repeated over and over. We do introduce new things into different shows. Yes, there may be certain elements where Wilcock gets mentioned far too much for my liking, but those clowns keep offering or proffering stuff that needs to be addressed. So, but what I'm asking is for all of you to start trusting yourself more. It's that trust you put in yourself that's got you where you are now without realising it. You trusted that this show will deliver on certain things. And we've all seen the evidence, you know. It was one of our stories put in the mainstream media yesterday. It's not the first and it won't be the last either. But it all comes down to trust in yourself. And in essence, the lottery, or the Powerball, it's a kind of an analogy that runs in with this. Powerball, you pick 5 numbers. It's a bit like the 5 senses: taste, sight, touch, smell and sound. But all those 5 senses can all be tricked. Not all can be, do get tricked. The one that doesn't is the Powerball itself, which is the 6th one, the 6th sense, intuition. And that's where the trust of the self comes in. And it will be important that you trust yourself, that you love yourself. Again, that's a problem many of us have faced in our lives, myself included. I'm not worthy. Everyone is. It's only them and their stupid power games. They, you know, the reality is, or the funny, bizarre thing is they don't trust themselves or love themselves enough because they're honouring the idiotic gods. And you wonder why their behaviour is so bad and so poor. It's because they've got no trust and love of the self. Because anyone who trusts themselves and loves themselves in the right manner would never give the power away to fake gods. Or fake politicians. So I hope those pieces helped you all. You will need to be in touch with yourself and understand yourself and love yourself more and trust yourself more. Use your intuition. It's there all day, every day. Don't look at it as a coincidence. It's a reminder to you to listen. Something, a statement that was mentioned on one of the posts. Again, something to ponder. To negate time, it reasons that the present is indefinite, that the future has no reality other than as a present hope. The past, none other than a present memory. Think about that one. I'm talking about the past. One of my favourite bands when I was growing up was a band called ABBA. And I didn't remember this song until this week. And it's called Cassandra. And yes, it is about her. And my message to Cassandra: history did repeat itself, did it not? Bye, Cassandra. Hi all, and welcome back to the final hour. Pondering whether to do... I've got another piece here called The Wizard of Oz. And yes, it's about the movie. It kind of explains all the hidden terms. And if you understand this, I think I'm going to put it out this week. So thanks to Ernest, and happy birthday, Ernest. I have covered this briefly whilst on Cosmic Voice, but only did the bit today. But the Wizard of Oz explains, in essence, it takes the piss out of the people when it's wrapped up in theatre. We've all seen evidence of that in the movies and the shows, which has increased rapidly over the last few years, kind of disclosing many things for those that can see and those that can understand what they're trying to get at. You know, I've watched a number of recent series. I'm watching one at the moment called The Shadow Hunters. And if you want to know about the hidden realms, it's all in there. Well, one thing that piqued my interest, because The Shadow Hunters, what was the other series I watched prior to that? Jordan Collier. I can't remember it. I might remember it later. We watched all that series as well, about the ETs, that the 4400. So that's the 4400. There was another show prior to that, and this Shadow Hunters all had 3 people in it with the initials JC. And you know what they're hinting at. But maybe next week, I won't have time this week. Next week I'll go into some of the research about their JC, which is actually Julius Caesar. Right, the symbolism of the Wizard of Oz. Some of you will be familiar. OZ, and people think, well, that's a short name for Australia, which it is. Not far from the Solomon Islands. No coincidence there. But Oz is also a symbol for ounces. And what's measured in ounces? Gold. And what's the yellow brick road? Gold bricks or ingots, bars of gold. So that tells you what the quest was for. Of course, the Irish clown Keenan had the Wizard of Oz. Yes, they were seeking that particular gold. Didn't get it. So now they chase white powder. So it went from the golden dragon to the white dragons. Anyway, the character known as the straw man represents the fictitious, all caps legal fiction, a person the federal US government created, which is not correct, it came from Rome, they implement it, with the same spelling as your birth name, birth being B-E-R-T-H. As you'll be familiar, the maritime law and all that. For those of you who don't remember the movie, remember what the straw man wanted from the Wizard of Oz. Yes, a brain. No juristic person, legal fiction, paper corporation has a brain, because he or she has no breath of life. The capital letters means dead person. The straw man wanted a brain live. And what did he get in place of a brain? A certificate, a birth certificate for a new legal creation. He was proud of his new legal status, plus all the other legalisms he was granted, and now he becomes the epitome of the brainless sack of straw who was given a certificate in place of a grain of common sense. Then we had the Tin Man, which means tax identification number. Tin Man. The poor Tin Man just stood there mindlessly doing his work until his body literally froze up and stopped functioning. worked himself to death because he had no heart or soul. Sound familiar? Particularly the work part. But basically that's what we are. Tin men, slavery. Work till you die, or till your body freezes up. And then you go into retirement and they give you pittance back of what you've already put into the system. So the Tin Man is the heartless and emotionless creature, robotically carrying out his daily tasks as though they were already dead. He's the ox pulling the plough and the mule toiling under the yoke. These days his taskmasters just oil him nightly with beer and place him in front of a hypnotic television until his very existence no longer has any meaning or value. Sound familiar? His masters keep him cold on the outside and heartless on the inside in order to control any emotion or feeling that might arise. So they're also explaining the robotic nature of humans. We just turn up, go to work, drink beer, watch TV. And all in a little bubble world and ignore everything else that's going on without any compassion or emotion towards other people suffering. And we had the cowardly lion, was always too frightened to stand up for himself. Of course, he was a bully and a big mouth when it came to picking on the smaller ones. But have you ever noticed how bullies are really the biggest cowards? Why do you think the Cabal built bunkers? So they could run there. Cowards. But like the bully that act as though they have great courage, but in reality have none at all. They roar, but have no teeth or authority to back them up. And when push came to shove, the cowardly lion always buckled under and whimpered when anyone of size or stature challenged him. And this is how the Cabal are acting currently, where they're now turning on each other. Now the lion wanted courage from the Grand Wizard, so he was awarded a medal of official recognition. I've mentioned about that on the page recently, about how they seem to spend most of their year handing out medals to each other, be it through Emmys, Grammys, and all kinds of other bullshit awards, and pats on the back, best musical, and yeah, it's all the same people, just slapping each other, and some of them are backstabbing as well. But now, although remaining a coward, his official status allowed him to be a bully because he had a medal, a title. But with an officially recognised authority, he's not unlike the attorneys who hide behind the middle courts of the Temple Bar. They have a title, act all bully until their system is challenged, and then they don't like it. And then, of course, we had the trip in the Wizard of Oz, the trip through the field of poppies. I don't need to tell our listeners about the significance of that and a certain Virginia company. But also in the film, did you notice this had no narcotic effect on the straw man? Why? It had no brain. Or the Tin Man. No heart or no soul. They weren't real people. Drugs couldn't influence those two. The Wizard of Oz was written at the turn of the last century. So how could the author have known America was going to be drugged? The Crown has been playing the drug cartel games for centuries. You'll remember, or maybe you won't, if you look up the history of Hong Kong and the Opium Wars. It's around, if memory serves me correctly, that was around about the same time They created America, created in inverted commas. The Crown had already had a valuable experience conquering all of China with drugs, and so they wheeled it out to the rest of the world. What was the Emerald City? The Federal Reserve System. The greenback, Emerald, who finally exposed the wizard for what he really was. Toto, the ugly or cute, depending on your perspective, and somewhat annoying little dog. Toto means in total, altogether, and in Latin, toto, altogether. Was it that the witch wanted? What was it that the witch wanted after she alleged that the little dog had bitten her? Toto, everything. And notice how Toto was not scared of the great wizard's theatrics, yet he was so small in size compared to the wizard, and that no one seemed to notice him. It's the underdog that always are the ones that come through. So the smoke, the flames, the holographic images of Oz were designed to frighten people into doing as the great wizard commanded. Toto simply padded over, looked behind the curtain, the veil, or the court, and saw it was a scam. Started barking until the others paid attention to him and came to see what all the barking was about. Now, this is, in essence, is an analogy of the alternative media. We've barked, bellowed, shouted, and now we're seeing a lot of people pay some attention to us. A lot of what we've been saying all along has been correct. Who was behind the curtain? Just an ordinary person controlling the levers that created the illusion of the great wizard's power and authority. Mask of illusion. When Toto pulled back the curtain and completely exposed him, the charade was at an end. And this again has analogies with the alternative media. The more curtains we open, the more boxes, particularly Pandora's, and the more exposure, the charade ends. Because these are all bullies and cowards hiding behind the veil of corporate legal fiction and its false courts. Just us, not just is. And once the people rose up, the wizard's game was up. What was the wizard after all? Just a con man, a fraud. Now we can see in this tale just how loud the bark from the little dog can be. How about your bark? How big will it get? What if we all bark together? Not just the awake, but the sleepers also. But the story of the tale is, most of us, or too many, remain silent due to fear, and wait to be given whatever food and recognition, if any, by our legal master. Except they're not. That's only the illusion we created. They created it for us, but it doesn't mean to say that we had to accept it. And let us not forget those pesky flying monkeys. What perfect mythical creatures to represent the Bar Association attorneys who attack and control the little people of the great crown wizard, the powerful and the grand bankers of Oz. Gold. How was the evil witch finally destroyed? Pure, clean water. The living water. Those are dead people, synths, an illusion. And so we liquidate them. And how did Dorothy get home? She simply clicked her heels. She always had the power. She just forgot. And basically so did we. So what would it take to expose the wizard for what he is, tearing away his veils? We each only need a brain, a heart, and a soul. And the most important thing, courage. Then, and perhaps of the greatest importance, we need to learn how to work together. Only in toto working together as one body of the King of Kings, we're all monarchs. It's not just certain lizards across the pond. We're all monarchs. And then we can have the freedom under sources law, cosmic law, universal law. So I hope you all enjoyed that. But you can see the analysis of that movie, of where we went wrong, what they were up to, and how just a small dog barking changed everything. So those that think they have no voice, or I'm just little me, well, that was just little Toto. But Toto made the difference, the smallest thing in the movie. If Toto would have turned around and gone, well, I'm only the smallest, I'm just little me, I can't do anything, somebody else will have to do it, it wouldn't have changed, would it? So I hope that it kind of fills in a lot of the pieces of the legal stuff, how we've born into what being classed as dead people, which they are in essence anyway. They are the illusion, the masks behind the veil, under the corporate legal fiction, false courts, you name it. And the lion may roar, but the lion was a coward, like the Cabal. They can make threats, and they can get rid of people, but if everyone stands up, they haven't got a chance. Not an earthly chance. And that's all it takes at the end of the day. Everyone barking the same tune. Right, let's get into some questions. So what time we got left? I'm Canadian. Thanks for your weather that you deposited down in Florida this week. There's always trouble that comes out of Canada. Hi, Chloe. Anyway, I'm Canadian, so maybe I have no right to say this, but could President Trump's executive order that takes the illegally obtained assets from the elites be used against the mainstream media? They seem to fit the bill. I believe they have done enormous harm with their lies and failure to report crimes, and probably being well paid for it. I only wish Mr. Trump could do that here in Canada, as our mainstream media pushes their agendas, which are not for the benefit of the public. Well, Mr. Trump has to start delivering, in my opinion. We've had enough talk and tweets and Twitters and Qs. It's time the public were given some meat off the bone. You know, Trump moans about the Clinton News Network. Why hasn't he shut it down? Just ban it. Take its license off them. So a number of solutions. If they're distorting the truth and spitting out falsehoods and lies, then they're not operating under the conditions of their license. Take it off them. If another business operated outside its boundaries, they'd have no compunction to remove that business's license. Why are they any different? Or are they part of the theatre? That's something that concerns me at the moment. That's all theatre being played out and repeated and repeated and repeated. It's time we had some real concrete action, not tweets and Twitters and cryptic posts on the Chan boards. About shungite, many are claiming it blocks the radiation of the harmful frequencies we're being bombarded with, the directed energy weapons, EMFs, microwaves, etc., that we seem to be under the attack from. Can this stone or any other thing really block or reduce the overload of these harmful waves? I don't know sufficient about it. I have issued caution about all these stones in the alternative media. I can't believe all of them do what they say. I think a lot of them, sadly, is scamming the public again. Under the love and light banner, we have this item, it does this, and well, actually it can do it, but only if you apply the energy to it. So in other words, you didn't really need it to begin with. Some crystals, have beneficial, but what if some dark energy held that crystal before you? Have you cleared it? Are you able to clear it? Because if you're not, then basically you've just hampered yourself. And this is some of the dangers that don't get put up on sites that are selling all this shungite and orgonite and centenary stones and all that stuff. This black rock is from Sirius, and how do we know that Sirius isn't a ultimate dark place? How do we know it? Because it came from there, it's actually a object of light. We don't, and therein lies the problem. So if you're going to partake in buying these crystals and stones and trinkets and all that, make sure you have them cleared before you touch them, because you've just absorbed that energy. I'm listening to last week's 2 shows. This was before Christmas. My question on covens was answered this week. You said if one prays out to what they feel is a superior being, then that energy is being harvested by negative forces. Does that mean one should not pray to the Creator? Can you please explain this further, as I'm sure many people feel praying to the Source or Creator is a good thing to do. It's each to their own. From my perspective, and this is my perspective only, whether you agree with it or you don't, it's entirely up to you. Externalizing your energy to someone above you is giving away your energy, is giving away your life force. A lot of people like the verse I used to say it every week, I do it occasionally now. go out and be the creator being that you are? Why are you creating a creator outside of yourself when the creator spark is within? It always was. Like the answers, like the trauma, like the shadow side. They're not external, they're all internal. And as you go more and more internal and less of the external, the stronger the individual you become. If you're always operating via the mind, you're always going to be in part chaos. If you learn to quieten the mind, there's another example. When you meditate, do you go outside of yourself or do you go in? You do two things in a meditation. You shut the mind down. You can't operate in that space, that frequency, without the mind being shut down. And then you're accessing the heart neurons, the intuition, till you've cut off the five senses, all of which can be tricked. And you're operating in the sixth sense, from the heart. And that's all internal, not external. So I'll ask you the question. You still think you should pray outside of yourself? One of the things I've repeated many times, and it wasn't my saying, it was Tanath's, is never put anyone above your own heart. You are not meant to be. You are part of creation. So you pray to the self, because you are the creator spark. This is what religion teaches you to go outside, because they're wanting to feed their gods. This is why we warned about channeling. You're basically tuning in to negative entities. Because most of the ETs that have been here, apart from isolated ones out of each group, are not for our benefit. I'm sorry, they're just not. They're all agenda driven, be it trade, slave, war, food, you name it. They're not here for the benefit of humanity. They're here largely for what they can get out of it. Either piggying back in transitions, Lucian energy, or having us all working and fighting their wars. We're still fighting their wars now. The Middle East is their war. It's nothing to do with us. It's their war. And we're the pawns on the chessboard, playing their war games. Live simulator. Thomas, I heard on several shows you mentioned we did not need healing machines to be healthy. As someone who has struggled a lifetime with this and only found minor relief via alternative medicine, I could really use more info on the subject. On top of my usual health issues, I've had what they are calling the creeping crud here for the last 4 months, off and on, with flu-like symptoms, fever, severe bone pain over and above the normal levels. It's beginning to be more than I can take. I'm not sure if I can wait until the healing tech comes here finally to the US. I'm at the end of my ropes after spending most of the holiday in bed, exhausted to do more than take a nature trip when called to do so. Well, I empathise with your plight. There's a number of our listeners or members going through similar. This is about similar answers to the last question. It's all about going within. You know, some people have cancer and then they don't. It's not because they've had chemotherapy. It's because they've learned to switch it off. And all the ancient elders will tell you the same. They didn't need medicine, as in Medici, as in one of the 13 black nobility families. That's where the term medicine come from. Another energy harvesting via value of your labour. All the tribal people only used potions when it was necessary. There's cures for everything on this planet. Unfortunately, it's been denied to many of us. Antibiotics, even some pharma drugs do work occasionally, will cure cancer because it's a virus. And the more you get in touch with the self via meditation and become and accept who and what you are, and come to know who and what you are, the more you realise the need for machines and pharmaceuticals was ludicrous. Again, this is the knowledge that we've been denied. But there's examples all over the world of people curing themselves. Cancer, all kinds. There was a guy who came on our show a few times who needed a heart bypass. Multiple bypass. Someone tried or attempted to fix him remotely. He then went back to the doctor and says, the doctor says, "What have you been doing?" He says, "I don't know what you mean." He says, "It's all fixed. You don't need the heart surgery." So it can be done. That was an example that I witnessed myself. It's all about whether you believe in you. I mentioned earlier about trust of the self. If you expect to meditate and go, "I want rid of X, Y, and Z," and it's not gone within 2 weeks, it may take longer to heal. But if you see improving conditions, most people go, "Oh, that's a coincidence." Actually, no, it's not. You're doing yourself down. Everything's always a coincidence if it goes right. No, you created that. And so when you learn to trust yourself and love yourself more, and also get rid of the traumas, because I would suggest you've got a whole heap of traumas that's causing the disease. If you have too many, it overloads the system, and the immune system takes about 6 months to fully recharge. Well, if you're got disease after disease, that immune system's not getting a chance to fully charge its batteries again. But if you start clearing out the traumas of your past, you'll start seeing some of those diseases disappear. So I hope that helps. Where is Julian Assange? He's still in the Ecuadorian embassy, despite what others are saying. Where is Obama? Not where he should be, in my opinion. Again, he's been allowed to wander, interfere, go ahead of the current president to various country meetings. Where's the action? Why is it no world leader, past or present, have ever died of cancer? I don't know whether that's the case or not. It wouldn't surprise me, because they know the knowledge. The higher you go up, the more knowledge you get. A bit like the Freemason system. They also know where it comes from. Because cancer comes from the lower astral. Well, maybe they're not real to begin with. Is Lucifer a human being? No. Where are we next? What is happening at Gitmo? The Cabal had a meeting there. As we rise in consciousness, are there also beings moving down? And can one dimension influence another? Well, we've moved down. But the key is, if we... this is going to sound odd. If we rise up, we will descend. And yes, I said that right. Do you think Trump may enact the 1903 law to call up the militia if things heat up? I would like to think so. But certain things that have been ongoing over the past 2 or 3 weeks does not augur too well, in my opinion. What is the critical tipping point percentage of mass consciousness that humanity needs to obtain before salvation of the organic human is achievable or certain? Well, we can do it en masse, or you can do it individually. As a creator, you have that choice. There's no need to wait for others. Again, that's part of the illusion that certain clowns in the alternative media will have you hanging on the edge, because we're sitting around waiting for others to do it, when the answer lies with you. Always did. And this is what this show is trying to get across more than anything. You can achieve what you need. Fear the self. It's always better when it's in a group, because we've all struggled with different traumas and being neglected, etc., etc. And it's always, I personally think it's more fun when it's done in a group where you can all support each other, which is why THI was set up to be that way, to be the support structure for anyone. I feel sure humanity is moving steadily towards a balanced spiritual age of enlightenment. Yes, we are. It's just taken longer than people think. In essence, it's not, but it just appears that way. What is an orb? A ball of energy, ball of light, a frequency. Could this be the year 1018 and not 2018? And has there been 1,000 years taken from us, or 1,000 years just been added through manipulation, rewriting our history as a calendar? Yes, that is a possibility. So there's certainly elements that I was researching 12, 18 months ago, I think, about a missing 300 years between 700 and 1,000. There is certain evidence there from other researchers saying everything was created last Thursday. Which I was going to roll into a joke to do with THI. Maybe we did create the universe on a Thursday. It would be darn sight better ran than the current one is, put it that way. But there's been manipulation from year one, whatever that may be. You know, archaeological evidence is now going further and further back, or maybe it's being manipulated further and further back. These are the things that you have to look at from both sides. The story of Radomir, which is the real story of Jesus, was 10 something, not 0. Of course, before 0 we had BC, which means before Caesar, or before Constantine. So there's been a lot of Roman, Hebrew manipulation. Of course, all the calendars, there's the Julian, there's the Gregorian, all kinds. There's the Hebrew calendar, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And until the public get full access to the holographic Hall of Records, all of it is just speculation at the end of the day. Is the current transgender agenda related to the fact that you mentioned in your answer to my question on the 1221 show that in the past many of us were androgynous? Well, there was humans that were androgynous. It still is, in some cases. But this is the transgender that's going on currently is, again, it's them, the elites, taking the piss, being honest. Their levels of behaviour appears to have no bottom, which is what many of them prefer. But there was an excerpt on one of the videos I watched this week, Prince Charles, 1989, saying inbreeding is the only way to go. In other words, incest. And these elites have been doing this for hundreds and thousands of years. And then sometimes you can't always get the child that you want or need. So you switch gender. Queen Victoria, the original one, was rumoured to be a man. Of course, there's a lot of videos out now with doubts about Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Emma Watson, Carrie Fisher. Of course, was the other one, Michael Lavaughn, who was outed by the comedian Joan Rivers. We all know she's a man. And I think you'll find there's a number of videos, some of them go too far. But there's Jennifer Lawrence, there's another one, Hunger Games. Whether it's true, whether it's not, you know, look at Glenn Close. You know, remember that was a man in drag. That was it. Barbara Bush, another one. And so, to keep the control or the illusion going, they'll swap gender. Keeps it in the family, doesn't it? And this is why some of the why so many of these elites are completely off the tree, because they've, like if you print a copy on a printer, the first one's going to be okay, but as you start copying and copying and copying and copying, they start degrading. Well, if that's been going on for hundreds of years or thousands of years, as they were doing it with the Egyptians, brother and sister marrying, banging each other and then producing offspring, and they seem to think that that's normal. Maybe it is. Doesn't seem normal to me. But then, what is normal? And therein lies the problem. Because everything that's classed as normal in this world appears to be insane to me. But then there will be people who listen to this show and think, that guy is off his tree. What's he talking about? Because they're not programmed to critical think. And that's the key to everything. Having an open mind to all possibilities. Do I think all those people I've just mentioned are all the opposite sex? No, I don't. I can't 100% prove it. Some of them certainly look that way. There's certain evidence supporting Michelle Obama as being Michael LaVaughn. But that's all there is. Speculation. You can't. Maybe one day it'll all get proven. But there's certain enough elements where it's becoming Lady Gaga. You know, the concert when she was straddling the bike. Why has she got what looks like meat and 2 veg? You know, why has he got a large Adam's apple? You know, why are they doing it? It's beyond me. You know, the only reason I can think of is they're trying to hide their sexuality, or they're just taking the piss out of us, which they're fond of doing. They've been doing it since the advent of television and theatre. Like I said, Wizard of Oz is over 100 years old. Some of the early Disney stuff is riddled with symbolism and reference to sex and fiddling with kids. It's all in your face. And they seem to think it's amusing. It's time we all learned the true knowledge and shut them down. Will Amalia get her $1.5 million for doing nothing and just being born in a corrupt, not royal family? Or is there a way to stop this royal nonsense? For those of you unfamiliar, Amalia is Katerina Amalia, who's 14-year-old and a royal. of Holland. And then you think, well, that's a nice name, and until you see the title, Princess of Orange. Oops. That name should send shivers down Irish listeners' spines, because it was the Orange family that destroyed the peoples of Ireland. And I meant the peoples of Ireland, not one particular religion. For those of you who don't know, William of Orange, the Dutch royal family, which is why the Holland soccer team is all in orange, which is why the International Netherlands group changed the name, is ING, is also in orange. It's right in your face. And the Brits made a pledge with William of Orange: if they smashed the Irish, he would be awarded King of England. And that's exactly what they did. But everyone remembers the Crown of England and the control of the British Empire. But the hidden hand was the Dutch. Of course, the British Empire hidden hand was the Vatican, Rome. That's how they do it. They'll put one up as the main troublemaker, like America is currently. But behind America is Holland, Britain, Spain, Portugal and Italy, with the false state known as Israel added into the mix. So yes, she will, but it's up to the people of Holland, not Netherlands, Holland, to stop it. You know, there's a lot of argument that America wants its republic back. Why do we need titles or box names? We just want this particular country operated for and by the people. That's all it needs. So whether you have royalty, again, people know my opinions of titles. It may have been valuable in the past. It's not relevant now, where we're paying vast sums of our wealth for them to sit hobnobbing and banging each other and playing incest games and wearing each other's clothes. That's, you know, and doing drugs. That's all they seem to do. They serve no purpose. And if they don't serve a purpose, we should remove them. Could we assume that possession is an egregore of sort? Yes, it is. If nobody ever invented possession, we would not have poor and rich people. Not necessarily. Everyone has possessions of themselves, in and of themselves. The key is sharing those possessions amongst, so that everyone has sufficient. It's just not shared out enough. That's why we have poor and rich, because it's deliberate. It's a system so that the poor always have something to be angry at, so they're projecting their energy away from themselves. Our soul cannot take any material possession with it when it passes over. No. But it can take dark energy, unless you deal with it. Hypothetically, are highly evil humans with manipulative psychic powers able to detect and evade capture? It's possible, but unlikely at this time. There is highly non-evil humans with strong powers that are able to detect and deal with. If they were to be captured and imprisoned, would special shielding precautions or sedatives be needed to employed to protect human caretakers during their transport and incarceration? We have, oh, don't say too much. We have special facilities. That's all I'll say. When this is over, how do we go about replacing or removing the mainstream media and controlled narratives, assuring they may I'm trying to work it out because it doesn't make sense. Assuring they probably means get most of the truth out and information out to most of the people. I would have thought by now, I would have hoped by now, I've certainly asked sufficient questions and demanded certain actions that would have been dealt with. But we still wait. I don't know what we're waiting for. Maybe we'll always wait unless we do something and take the initiative. That doesn't necessarily mean violence. There's numbers of ways to be clever without using violence. But we should have done more about those portal people who are treasonous and the blight on humanity, sitting there getting paid to confuse, distract and distort information. Worst of the lot. Any intel on SpaceX satellite sending an unknown group mystery messages? Not to my knowledge. I'm not saying it hasn't taken place, but I've not heard anything. Some of the satellites have a tendency to fall out of the sky. Oops. What is going on with money disappearing right out of my hand? And also I've got my own personal items vanishing and they're not reappearing. You're seeing the glitches. So they would come, didn't they? What's going on with Iran? Is it another faction war? Yes, it is. All played out by the Zionists and their puppets. Yet again, more lies. Yet again, go and look at the Caliphate region. It's all there. Right, I think that's the end of the show. Yes, it is 3 hours. I've done enough. So that's the end of the first show of the year. Some of you may have liked it and some of you may not. Until we get definitive confirmations on a whole range of things, then I will not be speculating. We've had enough false promises. I've had enough to last a lifetime, and I'm not going to pass it on to you also. So until I get full confirmation of certain things, and Gitmo is a full confirmation, it was not removal of rogue elements. It was a meeting of high-level cabal. As for the other bits of this being arrested and that being arrested, well, again, no confirmation of that whatsoever, and we would have had some by now if it was the case. It's not. That doesn't mean to say that positive things are not going on. Like I said, certain passports of certain high-level people have been removed altogether to stop them fleeing, which suggests at a later date those people will be collected and put in rather interesting facilities which they may not like. Time will tell. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm probably going to skip. I'm going to have to start doing an evening with Thomas. I think Hayden's on next. I'll probably skip it this Sunday, and then we'll come back next Sunday with the restart of an evening with Thomas with Hayden Ellis. Hopefully by then we might have something real interesting to talk about. We'll see. January the 21st, Sunday, I will be on OYM again with Alan and Steve, and it should be interesting. Challenge Thomas. That'll be good. We all like a challenge, don't we? Right. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show, and I'll be back next Thursday. If I get anything of interest or I feel needs warnings or any updates, I will post them on the MeWe and the Facebook page. And if anything big takes place, I will arrange an emergency show where in that time it could be. But like I said, I'm not building up hopes to let people down again. We're all tired of that. I know I am anyway. Right. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams, and we'll always get by the way old friends do. Bye for now.